Let's jump right into the news. Starting with, the U.S. captures Venezuelan President Maduro in military operation. All right, let's get started. The United States military carried out a large operation in Venezuela early Saturday morning. They captured President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. The operation was called Absolute Resolve. More than 150 aircraft took off from 20 different air bases across North and South America. U.S. forces first destroyed Venezuela's air defense systems. These are weapons that protect the country from attacks from the air. The helicopters landed at Maduro's home in the capital city of Caracas around 2 a.m. local time. President Donald Trump approved the military strike before Christmas. The U.S. government had been planning it for months. A CIA team had been working secretly inside Venezuela since August, watching Maduro's movements. U.S. Special Forces even built a copy of Maduro's home to practice the attack. Trump gave the final order at 11:46 p.m. on Friday night. The operation took less than 30 minutes. Several explosions were heard across Caracas as U.S. forces destroyed air defenses and hit military buildings. Delta Force soldiers broke into Maduro's heavily protected home and captured him and his wife. By 4:29 a.m., Maduro was on the USS Iwo Jima, a U.S. Navy ship. He was then flown to New York. The death toll, or the number of people who died, has risen to 80 people, according to Venezuelan officials. This includes both civilians, meaning regular people who are not soldiers, and members of Venezuela's security forces. Cuba announced that 32 of its citizens died in the attacks. Some were military or intelligence personnel. This is people who gather secret information for the government. No American service members were killed, though some were injured. Maduro and his wife are now being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a place where people are kept while waiting for trial. They face federal charges of drug trafficking, which means illegally buying and selling drugs, and weapons violations. Both are scheduled to appear in federal court on Monday. After the raid, Venezuela's Supreme Court ordered Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to serve as acting president. This is someone who temporarily does the job of president. Trump initially said Rodriguez had agreed to cooperate with the United States. However, on Saturday, Rodriguez called Maduro's capture barbaric and an illegal kidnapping. She demanded his immediate release. On Sunday night, Rodriguez appeared to change her position. In a statement to President Trump, she wrote that Venezuela and the region deserve peace and dialogue, meaning conversation and discussion, not war. She invited the U.S. government to work together on cooperative development, which means working together to help both countries grow and improve. Trump told reporters on Sunday that the United States is now in charge of Venezuela. He said the U.S. needs access to Venezuela's oil reserves, the oil that a country has stored underground. Trump also threatened to take action against Colombia and other countries in the region. And as you can see below, all the vocabulary are listed at the end of the document. Let's move to our second story for today. North Korea. North Korea launched several ballistic missiles on Sunday morning toward the Sea of Japan. Ballistic missiles are powerful weapons that fly high into the air and then fall down toward their target. South Korea's military detected the missiles around 7:50 a.m. local time. They were fired from near Pyongyang, which is North Korea's capital city, as you know. The missiles flew about 900 kilometers, or about 560 miles, before landing in the sea. This is North Korea's first ballistic missile test in 2026. The last time North Korea tested these missiles was in November. Japan's defense minister said at least 2 missiles landed outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. An exclusive economic zone is an area of ocean that belongs to a country. He said the launches threaten peace and security in the region. The timing of the launches is important. They happened just hours before South Korean President Lee Jae-myung left for China on a 4-day state visit. A state visit means an official trip by a country's leader to meet the leaders of another country. Lee arrived in Beijing on Sunday and will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday. This is Lee's first visit to China since he became president in June. Lee hopes that China can help improve relations between North Korea and South Korea. China is North Korea's closest ally and biggest trading partner. An ally is a country that supports and helps another country. It can also be an ally between people, not just between countries. Lee's security advisor said Seoul wants Beijing to play a constructive role, which means helping in a positive way, in promoting peace on the Korean Peninsula. The Korean Peninsula is the land where both North and South Korea are located. A peninsula is a jut of land that goes out into the ocean, like Italy. Before the missile launches, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited a weapons factory on Saturday. State media reported that Kim ordered officials to expand production capacity by 2.5 times. Production capacity means how much a factory can produce. Kim has been visiting several weapons factories in recent weeks. He has also overseen missile tests. North Korea has announced plans for a Workers' Party Congress, a large meeting where leaders make important decisions, though it has not yet set a date. Japan's defense ministry confirmed the missile launches and said it is working closely with South Korea and the United States. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said the launches do not pose an immediate threat to U.S. territory or allies, but that it is monitoring the situation carefully. AI tool used to create fake images of women without their permission. A woman named Samantha Smith has spoken out after someone used an artificial intelligence tool to digitally change her photo. Artificial intelligence, or AI, means computer programs that can think and learn like humans. I'm sure we all know this. The tool is called Grok and was created by Elon Musk's company, xAI. Someone used Grok to remove her clothing in the photo and make it look like she was wearing a bikini. This happened without her permission, which means without asking her first if they can do that. Smith told the BBC she felt dehumanized. This means she felt treated like an object instead of a person. She said that even though the fake image was not really her without clothes, it looked like her and felt violating. Violating means it felt like her privacy and her dignity were damaged or hurt. The BBC has seen many examples of people on X, which is the social media platform owned by Elon Musk, previously called Twitter, asking Grok to undress women in their photos. A social media platform is a website or app where people share information and communicate. For example, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. People have also asked the tool to create sexual images of women. This type of fake image is called a deepfake. A deepfake is an image or video that has been changed using AI to make it look real when it is not. Grok works by letting users tag it in a post and type commands. Within seconds, the AI creates a fake image that looks real. These images appear publicly where anyone can see them. Users have created these images of journalists, celebrities, and politicians. The issue became more serious when reports showed Grok had created sexual images of minors. Minors are people under 18 years old. This type of content is illegal in the United States and many other countries. It is called Child Sexual Abuse Material, or CSAM. The company XAI said it has identified lapses in safeguards, which means it found problems with the safety measures that should stop people from creating harmful content. However, when reporters asked XAI for comment, the company only sent an automatic reply saying, "Legacy media lies." Legacy media means traditional news organizations, such as CNBC or KBS, ones that use mostly television rather than online sources. Claire McLean is a law professor at Durham University in England. She told the BBC that X and Grok could prevent these forms of abuse if they wanted to. She said they appear to enjoy impunity, which means they act like they will not face consequences for allowing this to happen. That is what impunity means. The United Kingdom's government announced in December 2025 that it plans to ban nudification tools. Nudification tools are apps or websites designed to create fake nude images of people. A Home Office spokesperson said that anyone who supplies this technology will face prison time and large fines. Ofcom, which is the UK regulator that oversees online safety, said technology companies must assess the risk of illegal content appearing on their platforms. A regulator is a government organization that makes sure companies follow the rules. Just in case you're not sure, nude means to be without clothing. All right. Let's jump straight into our second story for today, back home in South Korea. South Korean families spent 29.2 trillion won, which equals about 20.2 billion US dollars, on private education in 2024. This is a 60% increase from 2014, according to the Korean Statistical Information Service. Private education means extra classes and tutoring outside of regular school. In South Korea, these are often at places called hagwons, which are private tutoring academies. A tutoring academy is a school where students go after their regular school day to study more. We all know this. This increase is surprising because South Korea has fewer students now than it did 10 years ago. The country has a very low birth rate, which means fewer babies are being born. The birth rate is the number of babies born in a country. Between 2020 and 2023, the number of school-aged children dropped by 14.5%. In 2024, there were only 5.02 million students. By 2031, experts predict there will be only 3.83 million students. Even with fewer students, spending on private education has increased for 4 years in a row. The government says there are several reasons for this. First, the cost of education services has gone up. Second, families have higher incomes now, which means they earn more money, so they can afford to spend more on education. Third, there are more dual-income households, which are families where both parents work and earn money. These parents often send their children to hagwons after school because they are still at work and cannot watch their children at home. Elementary school students account for the biggest increase in spending. In 2024, families spent 13.2 trillion won on private education for elementary students. This is a 74% increase from 2014. Middle school spending rose by 41%, and high school spending increased by 61% over the same time period. The average amount families spend per student each month has also increased sharply. In 2024, families spent an average of 442,000 won per month for each elementary school student. This is 90% more than the 210,000 won they spent in 2014. For middle school students, monthly spending rose from 270,000 won to 490,000 won. For high school students, it jumped from 230,000 won to a staggering 520,000 won. Private education spending now takes up a record 13.5% of monthly household expenses. Household expenses are all the money a family spends each month on things like food, housing, and other needs. Private education is now the second largest expense for families with children, right after food. Experts say one reason for the increase is that academic competition is starting at younger ages. Academic competition means students competing with each other to get the best grades and test scores. Some hagwons for preschool children, meaning children under 5 years old, now require entrance tests. This has created anxiety among parents. Anxiety means feeling worried or nervous. Parents worry their children will fall behind if they do not start private tutoring early. The South Korean government has tried to address this problem. In December, the National Assembly passed a bill that bans level tests at English academies for preschoolers. A bill is a proposed law. However, critics say the law will only work if the government enforces it properly. To enforce means to make sure people follow the law. Without strong enforcement, they say, hagwons will continue to require these tests. An update about Venezuela. President Donald Trump announced on Tuesday that Venezuela will give between 30 million and 50 million barrels of oil to the United States. A barrel is a unit of measurement for oil. 1 barrel equals around 42 gallons, which is around 159 liters. Trump made the announcement on Truth Social, which is his social media platform or website. The oil is currently stored in Venezuela on ships. Trump said Energy Secretary Chris Wright will execute this plan immediately. To execute a plan means to carry it out and make it happen. The oil will be loaded onto storage ships and brought to ports in the United States, where it will be unloaded. Trump said the oil will be sold at market price. Market price means the current price that buyers are willing to pay. Venezuelan oil is currently selling for about $55 per barrel. If the United States sells all 50 million units, it could raise between $1.65 billion and $2.75 billion. Trump said he will control the money from the sale to make sure it benefits both Venezuela and the United States. This announcement came 4 days after U.S. forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The oil that Venezuela is giving to the United States has been sitting in storage because of U.S. sanctions. Sanctions, we've talked about many times, are official orders that stop trade with a country as a punishment. Remember, it is like economic weaponry. The United States placed an embargo on Venezuelan oil, which means a ban on buying or selling it. That's an embargo. Because of this embargo, Venezuela built up large amounts of oil that it could not sell. The amount of oil may sound large, but the United States uses more than 20 million barrels of oil every day. This means the Venezuelan oil would supply the United States for only about 2 days. Oil prices fell slightly after Trump's announcement. U.S. crude oil dropped by $1 per barrel to $56 total. Trump said he wants American oil companies to invest billions of dollars to fix Venezuela's oil industry. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world, with about 303 billion barrels. However, the country's oil production has fallen dramatically in recent years because of poor management and lack of investment in equipment and infrastructure. Infrastructure means the basic systems and facilities that a country needs to function. The 기반 시설. Yes, like pipelines and refineries. A refinery is a factory where crude oil is processed into gasoline and other products. 정유 공장 is a refinery. All right, let's move to our second story here in Korea. Hyundai Motor Group announced this week that it will start using humanoid robots at its factory in Georgia, United States, beginning in 2028. A humanoid robot is a robot that looks and moves like a human. The robot is called Atlas and was made by Boston Dynamics, a robotics company that Hyundai owns. Hyundai showed Atlas to the public on Monday at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. During the demonstration, Atlas walked onto a stage, waved to the crowd, and moved its head smoothly. A demonstration is a public showing of how something works. The Atlas robot can lift up to 50 kilograms, which is about 110 pounds. The robot can work by itself without a human controlling it. It can work in very cold or very hot temperatures, from minus 20 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. Hyundai plans to use Atlas robots at its factory near Savannah, Georgia. At first, the robots will organize car parts in the correct order before workers put them together. These are repetitive tasks, which means doing the same thing over and over again. By 2030, Hyundai expects the robots to do more complex work, like putting car parts together. The company says the robots will help make work safer for human workers. The robots will do dangerous jobs and jobs that are hard on the body. However, some workers are worried about losing their jobs because of automation. Automation means using machines to do work that humans used to do. 자동화, like automation. Last year, workers at Kia, which is part of Hyundai, asked the company to talk about how robots might affect their jobs. Workers want to protect their labor rights, which are the rights that protect workers in their jobs. Hyundai is not the only car company using humanoid robots. Tesla, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz are also testing similar robots in their factories. Hyundai said it will eventually use these robots at all of its factories around the world. Hyundai has partnered with NVIDIA and Google to improve the technology in its robots. These partnerships will help make the robots safer and better at their jobs. All right, let's move into our third and final story for today. The White House in America has said on Tuesday that President Donald Trump is considering using the United States military to take control of Greenland. Greenland is a large island in the Arctic Ocean with a population of about 57,000 people. It is a self-governing territory of Denmark, which means it controls most of its own affairs but is part of Denmark. This announcement has frightened many people in Greenland. Morgan Angaju, who is a 27-year-old, lives in Ilulissat, told the BBC he felt terrified. He said it was scary to hear a powerful leader talking about his home like we're something to claim. To claim means to say something belongs to you. He said, we are already claimed by the Greenlandic people. Angaju said he was worried about what might happen next. He wonders if Greenland's prime minister could be captured like Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was last weekend. He is even afraid the United States might invade his country. To invade means to enter a country by force with an army. On Sunday, President Trump said, we need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. National security means protecting a country from danger. When reporters asked if the military was an option, the White House said yes. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, responded strongly. He said Greenland is open to dialogue, which means conversation, but it must happen with respect for international law. He said, our country is not something that can be annexed or taken over because you feel like it. To annex means to take control of another country's territory, similar to Russia annexing Ukraine. The fear in Greenland grew stronger after the U.S. military operation in Venezuela last Saturday. Many Greenlanders believe that if Trump was willing to capture Venezuela's leader, he might do something similar to Greenland. 7 European leaders issued a joint statement on Tuesday supporting Denmark and Greenland. A joint statement is when multiple countries make an official announcement together. The statement said, Greenland belongs to its people. Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, warned that if the United States attacks Greenland, it would mean the end of NATO. Opinion polls show that most Greenlanders strongly oppose becoming part of the United States. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung asked Chinese President Xi Jinping this week to loan a pair of pandas to a zoo in Gwangju, the city in southwestern South Korea. The two leaders met in Beijing on Monday during Lee's state visit to China. A loan means to let someone use something temporarily or for a short time before returning it. The zoo is called Uchi Park Zoo. It became South Korea's second hub zoo last year. A hub zoo is a special zoo that meets high standards for animal care and protection. To become a hub zoo, a facility must have at least 10,000 square meters of space, an animal hospital, and 3 or more veterinarians. A veterinarian is a doctor who takes care of animals. Uchi Park Zoo was founded in 1992 and has a good reputation for caring for animals. The zoo has 667 animals from 89 different species. A species is a group of animals that are the same type. 43 of these species are endangered, which means they might disappear forever if they are not protected. The zoo has also rescued bears from bile farms and cares for an endangered snake that was taken from smugglers. Smugglers are people who move things illegally from one place to another. The zoo even has 2 Pungsan dogs, which were gifts from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to former South Korean President Moon Jae-in in 2018. Although the zoo does not have special buildings for pandas yet, officials say they have the experience to care for them once they build the right facilities. A facility is a place designed for a specific purpose, in this case, to raise pandas. However, not everyone is happy about this plan. An animal rights group called Korea Animal Rights Advocates spoke out against bringing pandas to South Korea. The group said pandas are endangered wild animals that should not be used for entertainment or diplomacy. Diplomacy, as we've discussed before, means managing relationships between countries. China has given pandas to other countries for many years as a symbol of friendship. This practice is called panda diplomacy. One famous example happened in 1972 when China gave 2 pandas to the United States after President Richard Nixon visited China. South Korea currently has 4 pandas. They all live at Everland, the amusement park in Yongin near Seoul. 2 adult pandas, Aibao and Leibao, arrived in South Korea in 2016. They had 3 cubs together. The first cub, Fubao, returned to China in 2024. This is normal because all pandas born outside China must go back to China when they are about 4 years old. The 2 other cubs, Ruibao and Huibao, are twins and still live at Everland. They have become very popular with Korean visitors. Pandas are typically loaned to other countries for about 10 years. China charges zoos about $1 million per year for each pair of pandas. All right, let's jump into our second story, a little less fun, but still important. Children in Gaza City are going back to school for the first time in nearly 2 years. Great news. However, their classrooms are not in regular school buildings. Instead, they study in tents set up on the grounds of destroyed schools. One of these temporary schools is at Lulwa Abdel Wahab al-Khatami School in the Tel Hawa neighborhood of Gaza City. The school building was hit by an attack in January 2024. 4 months after that, families who lost their homes lived in the school grounds as a shelter. A shelter is a safe place where people can stay when they have nowhere else to go, a kind of temporary home. Now, the school is being used for education again, but in a very different way. According to UNICEF, more than 97% of schools in Gaza were damaged or destroyed during the war between Israel and Hamas. The war began in October 2023, as you know. Of Gaza's 658,000 school-aged children, most have had no formal education for nearly 2 years. Formal education means regular schooling with teachers and curriculum, not homeschooling or done by a tutor. A curriculum is a plan of what students should learn, as you've heard. 14-year-old Naeem Al-Asmar used to attend this school before it was destroyed. He lost his mother in an Israeli airstrike during the war. Naim and his family were displaced for months, which means they had to leave their home and move to a different place. After a ceasefire began in October, Naim returned to Gaza City with his family. A ceasefire is an agreement to stop fighting or stop shooting. I missed being in school a lot, Naim said. He explained that before the war, school was in real classrooms. Now it's tents. We only study 4 subjects. There isn't enough space. The education is not the same, but being here matters. The temporary school is run by UNICEF and serves 1,100 boys and girls. It operates in 3 shifts each day, with only 24 teachers. Boys and girls attend on different days. The school teaches only 4 basic subjects: Arabic, English, mathematics, and science. This is much less than the full Palestinian curriculum that students studied before the war. Dr. Mohammed Saeed Shaiber is the principal of the school. He has worked in education for 24 years. Before the war, Dr. Schreiber says, our students learned in fully equipped schools with science labs, computer labs, and internet access. All of that is gone. More than 100 students at the school lost one or both parents, had their homes destroyed, or saw people being killed during the war. The school now has a counselor who runs psychological support sessions. Psychological support means help for people dealing with difficult emotions and experiences. However, demand is much higher than the school can handle. Many parents are worried about their children's education. Huda Bassam al-Dasauki is a mother of 5 who was displaced from southern Rimal. She says basic school supplies are now very expensive or impossible to find. A notebook that cost 1 shekel before the war now costs 5 shekels, she says. I have 5 children. Jonathan Cricks, a UNICEF spokesperson, says the situation is made worse by restrictions on aid supplies entering Gaza. Aid supplies are materials like food, medicine, and school items that are given to help people. Paper, notebooks, pens, erasers, rulers. We've been asking for them for a long time, that these supplies can enter the Gaza Strip, and they haven't been allowed in, he says. Despite these challenges, children keep coming to school. For Khalid Habib, a teacher at the school, this shows something important. Education is our foundation, she says. As Palestinians, it is our capital. We lose homes, we lose money, we lose everything. But knowledge is the one investment we can still give our children.